Money, money, money. Money, money, money. We got that Fly Nubian money. We talk about that money. We all about that money. Money, 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 money. We got that Fly Nubian money. We talk about that money. We all about that money. We love our black skin, our melanin, always focusing in on that money. We always win, money never thin, 'cause we hustling, always focusing in money, 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 money. We got that money, 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 money. We that Fly Nubian money. Boss talk, only we stack it up.
Hello, everybody. Happy hump day. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to Fly Nubian Money, where we help you master your mindset and maximize your money. My name is Renee Williams. I'm also known as Miss Black Hollywood or Karma J. It just depends on the day. And I want to just welcome you to the show. I see you all coming in. Welcome. Get on in here. We have some conversation to have today. All right. So today we are talking about Gen Z. Gen Z is now rethinking the way that they success and what that looks like. So for decades, Black Americans have been celebrated for our ability to entertain through sports, music, and media. And over time, celebration basically became the direction, right? Many of us grew up believing that if you could sing, act or rap or run with a ball, that was your way out of the hood. While paths to ownership, technology, finance, buying a home was not really part of our dream. So I want to talk about that today. I want to talk about Gen X and the way they are reshaping really the future and kind of where it all comes from, where it's going to take us. And so, of course, I can't have that conversation by myself. I am joined by my most favoritist, the bestest queens in the whole wide world. I am joined by Dominique Morgan, who is an RN and a coach. I'm joined by the Be Big coach herself, Dr. Felice Hightower-Brit, and Renee, who is CEO of Tricycle Sync. All right, queens, welcome. Happy day. I'm so happy to see all of you and that we're going to have this conversation today. I want to know what your initial thoughts are. What were your initial thoughts when you heard this news or heard about this story? I'll start with you, Dominique.
So I'm not surprised. I have kids in this age group. They think about things differently. The path that we take, they're not necessarily thrilled with. And so they're looking at alternate ways for them to make money. So I'm not surprised by it because you see how they move. You listen to what they say, their mindset. They're just on a different path.
Yeah. What about you, Dr. Felice? With you being a therapist and a Be Big coach, like, how did you respond to that, or what do you think about it?
I mean, it makes sense for this generation. I mean, this is where they are. We actually, my generation and the one after actually created this generation. And so we kind of paved the path for them to think the way that they do about, how they look at money and things. We kind of made it we spoiled them a little bit. Not a little bit. We spoiled them a lot. And so they don't believe in working harder. They believe in working smarter than harder. And so, we also help them to be able to think outside of the box. And so they don't really like to conform to the traditional ways of how people have been conducting and doing and thinking about ways of making money. And so they are very good at thinking outside of the box about how that can look. And they don't like conformity, not necessarily in the way that we've done it. And so I'm not surprised by this. And I'm actually excited for them about this.
What about you, Renee? What do you think? What do you think about this?
Well, Gen Z, they're looking at zero security with the way that we grew up. Their parents or me, they see that they're not getting any type of security the way that the traditional way that we have taught them, or they have not really taught them, but what they've seen of us. And they're like, I don't like that. You come home, you leave at 6 a.m, you get home at 9 p.m. No, ma'am.
Oh,
So
ma'am.
that's what they're looking at, and I don't blame them at all.
Yeah. I agree with that. You know what's interesting about that is, um, is basically like when I think about my own daughter, and I don't know if she's not Gen Z, but like you all said, like they just kind of think with a freshness and with a newness. Growing up, it was about I feel like it was about survival, y'all. And like I think Dr. Felice said, we kind of took survival off the table for our children. They're not worried about depending on how you grew up. I know for me, you grew up in the hood, right? So there was like we had to get it how we live, free lunch and doing the things. And I think the good thing about that is like I also was young and it created an entrepreneurial spirit that I've had that also runs in my family. But at 5 years old, I was like, how can I get this money? Right. And so that was the birth of my first lemonade stand. So depending on the way you look at this, the way you look at it, but taking that struggle off the table has been good and bad because it's like I don't want to work too hard. And I think sometimes I don't know, would you agree, Dominique, that at some point some form of hard work is required to make money, like that grit is required? Do you think that, Dominique?
I do, but I still think that when you think about this generation, they are willing to do the hard work, but not in the way that they've seen us do it, right? So we're going to work, we're working hard for somebody else, and then we're barely making it. Sometimes, we're struggling. We're gone, as Renee said, we're gone from sun up to sundown. So how is that we're not able to travel and enjoy life? So yes, it's okay as an entrepreneur. I don't mind working hard for my own. So I think that they have that mindset. I think that they don't mind working for
Mhm.
what they want to work for. And I do believe that you have to have some form of, you have to be willing to work hard. And I think they understand that. They just don't want to do it in the capacity that we've done it.
Yeah. And we didn't have access. I think that our parents, when I think of my great grandmother, I think of her taking me with her as she was going and cleaning houses as a domestic worker. And I feel like I'm my great grandma's wildest dream because I know she wasn't, we weren't, obviously times are different, but I make more than my grandma probably did in a year, like in a month. I don't know, right? I don't know what she was making, but I know they weren't, she was just making it work. And so I think that's so interesting. Dr. Felice, when I think about entertainment though, and I think about how we've been kind of programmed and shaped around entertainment, it feels like Black people, since I can remember, I mean, we Black and proud, but before that, like us becoming the source of entertainment for American culture has been, I mean, a decades long reality for us. And so were we wrong for having that be that seemed like the only way that Black people could kind of make it in the world was if you were talented, your talent would take you far. So were we not wrong for being programmed that way? But what do you think about that when you really think about it?
So I think it's individual because if I didn't grow up, I didn't grow up thinking that that was a path. Like neither did my brother, and he was into sports. That wasn't something that my mother geared us towards. So, and I wasn't. There wasn't anyone in my family who was saying that that was the only route for us. In fact, for us, it was education.
Mm,
Education was our route, and so. And I think as far as education and our talents come, I think it goes further back. I think that if you think about when you think of movies like The Gladiator, I think that there's a certain culture that will use the oppressed cultures as forms of entertainment for them. I think that's something that they've always done. And so they've also programmed that into, I think, Black and brown people who are of a certain socioeconomic status, because not all Black people grew up poor. And not all Black people grew up thinking that that was the only route. But I do believe that that is a route for people, Black and brown people who are in a certain class, where options are limited. And so they only view their talents as a way to get out. And so I think that they've used it, but I didn't grow up thinking that that was my way out. I knew it was education.
Yeah. You know what, growing up, I don't even think I knew any when I was young, I didn't even connect ball players. I mean, obviously I did watch television and I got lost in like Martin and SNL and living like all of the things when I was young, which really like set the foundation of who I became ultimately, like moving to Hollywood and wanting that. But I wasn't thinking about it in the way it's like when I'm 10 years old thinking like, I don't know what it is, but I want to do that. Right? Like you don't know, but I don't know that like as the way out. I don't know if I connected that. But Renee, what about you? Like growing up, what were people around you doing? Like what was the impression of, the people around you in the way that you guys could make it out? And I don't necessarily mean like poor. I'm not talking about like in the hood necessarily. I'm just saying like in general, what was the strategy for most people around you getting out?
Well, for myself and for most of my friends, well, we lived in a house, lived on a block or whatever, you had that. And my grandfather raised me. And so he was very adamant about me going to college. I was the first, like you hear a lot of us, the first to have gone to college. So that was what I was raised with, that he pushed hard to make sure that I did go to college and make that way and change the dynamics of the family. So now we are seeing more people in the family that have graduated from college. And I think that it's a start. It's a start out.
Yeah. I love that. Let's go to our first video. Let's lay the foundation for this conversation and see exactly what we are dealing with here. Let's see.
Financially literate generation we've ever seen. So back in the 1980s boom, retail investing involved forms, bank queues, and a share certificate arriving in the post. But today, anyone can literally start investing on their phone within minutes. And as the Times World Survey data shows, Gen Z have far less faith that property is the route to wealth, and far greater faith that investing may be. The FCA found that the number of 18 to 30-year-olds with investment accounts rose 10% between 2020 and 2022. Investing is now simple, and that ease is quietly reshaping how Gen Z thinks about money, security, and the future. Gen Z grew up watching the old script of university, graduate jobs, and home ownership become harder to attain. So it's no surprise that fewer young people believe that building wealth can come from work alone. In the era where the cost of adulthood has become prohibitive, what has emerged is a culture of economic self-defense. And this investment behavior is more pragmatic than ideological, because it stems not from an unfailing belief that markets will inevitably reward them, but because they've seen every other route to security narrowed. When work or home ownership are no longer the certainties they were, it's trading apps that have become the last remaining arena in which the future can be planned for at all. For Gen
All right, so okay, so let's talk about it. I think that what they're saying is that there's access to more. I feel like obviously Gen Z is so I'm a millennial, right? And so before I kind of had that hybrid where I've lived without the internet, but I've also lived with the internet. And for Gen Z, I feel like their whole life has been the internet and just access and information at their fingertips. So there's just a difference between the way they can receive information and the way we received it. Dominique, what do you think about that? Like the difference in access, and how much of a difference do you think that's made in what we're saying today and them they're reshaping their future?
So that's a good question. So I'm the same. I'm a millennium as well. So I came up when internet was just starting to get, popular. And so I have those basic skills that we needed. We had to do we did most of it, by hand. Like we had to figure it all out. But now they have access to this technology and this information and this knowledge. And I think that it is beneficial, for them, because like I think about myself, the stuff that it would have taken me months to do, now you can do in less than a day. And so this is giving them a different type of opportunity. The things that they have access to in terms of knowledge, they have right now. They can get this information, they can pull it up, they can learn how to trade without going to school or getting an education. They can learn how to, work AI and build out, websites and different things. So I think that, yes, it is beneficial to have, the skills that we've had because if everything goes away, we will still be okay. But I also think that it's great to have the access to the information, readily available to us.
Can I say something?
Yes, of
I
course.
didn't want to say something when we were talking about so the new ways that we're learning, and of course I've learned and I'm getting into the AI, and as you know from my site and so forth. And you know what? From me being in corporate and me now doing, I work hard, but it's not. I don't consider it hard. It's fun. I enjoy it. I can work till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and I feel productive. I feel like I've done something because I'm working for myself and I'm doing something. So it's a whole different level of how as to when you get up and you have to go to corporate, clocking those hours, checking your pay stub, as opposed to you have all this resources and tools that it really, and if you love and have passion of what you're doing, it's not hard work. It's it fuels you to be even better at what you're doing. That's what I found in it.
Yeah. What about you, Dr. Felice? What have you found in terms of just like in corporate or just us having more access to technology, making what it looks like to work look easier? Uh-oh. Are you frozen? I can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
Oh, I can hear you now. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, technology.
Uh-oh. Can you hear her, or is she just going in and out for me? Okay. Dr. Felice, you're going in and out. Can you
It looks like on the screen is going out. Okay.
Mm-mm. Can you go out and then come back in? Can we do that? Okay. All right. So yeah, Dominique, did I ask you already, like the transition in between, like does AI and all the information that we have access to even make your life easier? Has it reshaped the way you think about success?
Oh, absolutely. It makes you, it gives you the opportunity to work smart and not necessarily work hard. I think we created this culture that you have to always work so hard, right? And if you're not working hard, then you're not getting nowhere, nothing's happening. I think now we have so much access, right? We have so much information right at our hands. You can build almost anything. YouTube, AI, and you can learn how to make money without necessarily working for anybody. I know for me, when I grew up, like I've always had an entrepreneurial mind, right? So I was selling candy young, I wanted to do hair. I don't know why I wanted to do hair because I don't think I would have loved that, but I wanted to do hair. But my dad's like, no, you're going to college. And so that's how I ended up going to college. I became a nurse, but I didn't have any other opportunities that were presented, to me. And so now these children have all this access. They don't have to necessarily go to college to be successful. You have people that have these YouTube channels, they're making a killing. And some of them still in high school, so we have this information and this access where, we're no longer, suppressed, or you don't necessarily have to just go this route. You don't have to just be an athlete. You don't just have to go to college. You have all these opportunities available to you. And that's because we have the technology, we have the internet, we have AI, we have all these things readily available to us.
Yeah, I often think about, but you know what? It's the face of what is considered entertainment changing. I'm gonna come to you, Dr. Felice, and then I want you to also finish what you were saying. But I think about like Kai Cenat, who is a streamer, right? But they stream all day long, and they do these like, they bring different people in, and it looks different. Like to me, obviously, when I saw it, I was like, I mean, so y'all just gonna stream all day? Like that's what y'all doing? Until you saw that he started to make millions of dollars and have millions of followers and all of that. And so I just think it again, it's just different. So what do you think about that? Like, is the face of use what we typically used as music and entertainment and basketball, now it looks a little different, but it's kind of the same thing, like streaming and stuff like that. What do you think? Or YouTube or skits or sketches or all of that?
So I think, with each generation, we all come up with our own thing, right? And so this is their thing, but there's a difference with their level of entertainment, even cognitively, right? Because if you think about it, they can't tell time. Like they got to do it on the day. Like there's certain things that our generation had and that benefits us cognitively, right? And so they are running the risk of losing cognitive function because of technology doing a lot of the processing for them.
Yeah.
And it is like for real. Like when I meet with clients, one of the things I hear all the time, and I tell them, look, like this is unacceptable. You ask them a question, and if they can't pull it up like really quickly, like in a technologically way with Chat GPT, I hear them say all the time, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. That is alarming. And with all these advances that we have technologically, they are also the most mentally ill generation. 63% of Gen Z say and believe that their mental health is less than good. So that is alarming. That is a crisis in the making. So yes, we've made all these advances, but how you got to think about, we're always in the short term. Everything with them is immediate, microwavable, right? And that's a part of their mental health stuff too, is that things need to come quickly. They also dying younger now. Now you see what's happening with, like, they're getting diagnoses like with colon cancer, the young Black girl who just died at 22 from like literally they're leaving here earlier. And so is it great? I don't know, right? Is there a benefit from how fast we're advancing if it is sacrificing their time? You could be striving all you want, but if you don't have your mental health, you can't sustain this hustle and what they're doing. So I think there's got to be a balance, but we got to bring them to old stuff. We got to have them telling time with the old school clock. We have to have them reading. Like we have to have them not so dependent on technology, because like you said, we'll be the only generation that can snap when and if, because they say that when and if we get hacked and everything goes, it's just a matter of time where they hack the internet and where things go down. And so will they be able to be okay?
It's interesting. And I think that's where this grit, you were going in and out towards the end, but we got the gist of what she was saying. It was just me, y'all. But Dr. Felice, you going in and out. But I want you to be part of this conversation. So I don't know what to do at this moment, because I'm like, I don't want you to go out and leave. So we're going to just roll with it today, y'all. Because I know you have some great things to say. I love that. And I think the interesting thing about it goes back to that grit. Like that grit, regardless of what, like putting something under pressure and having it kind of go through a fire is something that I think we all had to do, whether it was college, when we were younger, not being broke, but not having access to everything. Not, I know everybody didn't grow up the same way, but there was some type of pruning process that we all had to go through, that we can make it now, and then we could make it without anything. And I think that's the difference. You talk about mental health, and I'm like, man, that's the reason. They don't have to go through anything. If my daughter, literally, I have a conversation with my daughter, she doesn't overwhelm quickly, but she does she'll be like, I'm overstimulated. You know, she know all the words. Stuff start happening. She'd be like, I don't know. I'm like, well, I mean, it's okay. Nothing is really going on, you know, but that's their experience. Like, not too much can happen at a time before they're like, I'm overstimulated. This is just too much. I gotta go and decompress. Like, you know,
But think about it. They're overexposed on every level. When we were growing up, we had time to take in new data. We had time to process and think about what this new data means for us and how we want to use it. They are overexposed and they have less time to figure out how they're going to use this data for themselves. So think about how overwhelming and overstimulating that can be to a human brain that is not fully developed.
Yeah.
And how to take in all this data. It's everything is over. They've got over pressure. Now they've got the whole world that can be in on their world. When we were just in our small pockets, like I was in the hood in Brooklyn, right? But that was it. But they got the whole world that can come and have access to them. That is too much access, too much pressure, too much data that they are expected to do something with. And so we've got to be able, we've got to help or figure out ways that we can slow this down for them.
I see. I saw you, Dominique, did you have something to add to that before I go to this next video?
Yeah, I was piggybacking off of her. Like, even when you think about technology, like you said, it's too much, because the minute you learn this, it's something else. Literally, today is this way, tomorrow it's a totally different way. And so you haven't even grasped this concept before. Now you got to go and grasp this concept. But how we talk about we need to get control over it. How do you get control? You see toddlers walking around, they're not even talking, and they're walking around with tablets, right? In school, they don't use books. Like, my son started his freshman year of school. We go to get books, and they're like, oh, you don't have any books. I didn't go to the library with them, but I made them go back. Like, you go back. I know you got at least one book. They don't have any books. Everything is technology based. So how do you create that balance in a world that is 100% technology driven? People don't have to read books anymore.
So we have to be intentional, right? When you look at other cultures, right? First of all, the Chinese don't have the same TikTok that we have. Their kids are still reading in 100% technological, and every other country, all the children know at least another language. It is strictly mainly Americans. And so, because we have decided to relinquish our ability to say what and when and how we want anything to go down with our kids. And it's because even the parents are on their grind and hustle. And so it's about convenience. And you're going to have to take your power back and say, not on this watch, right? So my grandbaby is reading books. Let that sit with you, right? In 100% technology. She know the internet, but she reading a book.
That's right.
And when I was raising my daughter, I wouldn't let her have video games. I didn't allow it. So I need people to take their power back, and you intentionally dictate what it is your children are going to be exposed to and how that pace is going to be. You do have that ability, and you cannot blame it on the world. You choose what it is your child is going to learn and at what pace.
Yeah. Did you want to add something to that, Renee, before I play this next video? No? Okay. All right. Perfect. All right. So let's move on. Let's see what, let's get some more perspective.
Talent? What kind of talent? Playing football and rapping? That's it. Those are the main two things. Sports and music. Those are the main two things that they feed our people, right? Those are the main outlets that we think are going to get us to a position of success. Not realizing that the people that make the most money don't show their face at all. For example, when I started to expound, I started to realize that you ain't just got to make money playing football. I can make money being the sports attorney that represents the football player. When I decided, okay, I don't have to be the rapper, I could be the person that funds the rapper, right? There's different ways to make bread in a way that you ain't got to do nothing but sit back and be the person that they choose to go to. So all the different distribution processes that it takes to become a rapper, look into those. So I realized, I could work for Spotify and make money. I'm still doing the passion, I'm just doing it in a different way.
I love that. So this young man basically was like, the question that we missed was, he said, how do you think, what are the different ways you can make it out the hood? And obviously you heard the kids say music, sports. So kids are still thinking that way, even though the tides are shifting. Black children are still thinking this way in particular. And I think there's still a bit of programming that's happening. And I think that's because social media helps with that, right? We see rappers, the fly cars. And I mean, we all kind of, well, I grew up with this, right? I was a hip hop girl, I was a celebrity journalist very early, right? I think I did my first like Source Award as a journalist when I was about 18 years old, right? I'm down there and right, but I wanted to, when I saw that, I was like, man, I just want to be like that, where you have it all, you got it all. This is the way, right? The luxury cars, how you buy homes. That was my perception just from growing up in the 90s. Dr. Felice, when you hear that kids are still kind of like rallying around and not even thinking about the behind the scenes things, like that you can make money. I don't have to just be an actress. I can be an agent. I don't have to be an agent. I can also be a whatever, right? Those behind the scenes, those other positions that we never learn about, that people can make more money from. You might not want to be Whitney Houston, but you might want to be Clive Davis, right? That's the one that was making all the money and controlling all the things. So, Felice, I'll start with you. What are your thoughts on that kids are still thinking this way?
So the first thing that came to me when you was talking was exposure. Exposure is huge. We have to expose our children to all the different areas. They have to see it and see the tangibleness of it, right?
Mhm.
And so what does that mean? That means that you have to put your children in spaces where people who are not celebrities, but they're living lives that our children can see are possible for them. If all our children are seeing that it's possible for them is that music and athleticism, then that's all that they think and believe is available to them. But when you put them in different settings where they see Black women, Black men, like 100 Black men, we have 100 Black men in Charlotte. We've got a males thing in Charlotte where these men are exposing themselves to and showing them there are other ways that you can be successful, have the girl, be in rooms where you still fly, you look good, people are attracted to you. When they see that possibility, then they can move away and know that they have bigger and more options available to them. But we've got to open that up. We've got to find ways to expose our children to all of the different options that are available to them so that it can be attracted to them as well.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. You know what that made me think of? And I'm coming to you, Dominique, next. A couple years ago, maybe like 4 or 5 years ago now, I went to DC to work with Karen Bass, Mayor Karen Bass. And she has a nonprofit, and we had a film crew, and I took the film crew out there and we did some filming on Capitol Hill. And when I got to walk in the room and see the Black Caucus and see like Maxine Waters and all of these amazing women, and like just it was chocolate in there. There was young attorneys, I said, you know what? I could have did this in a lifetime. Like this is fly. Like y'all, I never seen nothing like that. Even as, and what, I was like 37 and at 36, 37, and I hadn't seen anything like that before in my life. And I was like, dang, I could have totally been this. This is it. Right. So Dominique, in what ways do you think that when you talk about your kids being Gen Z, in what ways have you exposed them to different things so they could see and have so they could see and kind of dream a little bit and see what the options were? What was
So
your strategy with that?
I 100% agree with Dr. Felice. Exposure to me is better than education. When you expose a child to certain things, if they can see it, they could potentially be it. But if they never see it, how can they be it? So I've always gotten my kids in rooms. I always network and introduce them. I recently took I'm a community girl. Y'all know that. Like I love my village. I love my kids. So my kids, I have my own biological kids, but I have a village of kids. I rallied them babies up at 8 o'clock in the morning. I got parents involved. We need a couple of drivers, and I took them so that they can see an African-American civil engineer. And his wife is a mechanical engineer. You may not want to be an engineer, but you don't know what you want to be until you get into the room, so that you guys can have an idea of what this looks like. Because, like, can I do this? Let's see. Some of them determined that it wasn't what they wanted to be, but you got in the room. You were able to make connections and networks because there were opportunities in the room. Our kids are in high school, opportunities for scholarship, and just giving them that exposure is so important, and not allowing social media to dictate the exposure. So oftentimes what happens is these rappers and these, athletes is over glamorized on social media, right? So they see all the money and them flashing the money and driving a nice car. So they think that this is the only way that you can get the money and the nice cars. But if you expose them to different things, like that guy was saying, I could be the attorney. I can be the agent, and you can still make good money. You can still walk in the rooms. You can still have the nice things. I 100% agree. Exposure is everything. So I've always just made sure that if my kids brought it up, or if I see that there's an opportunity to do it, whether they brought it up or not, I get my kids in the room. And I'm talking about my community, my village of kids. I get them all in the room. I pack them up, and the parents are on board. They make them go whether they want to do it or not. No, you still gonna go. You can see, and then you can determine what you want to do.
Yeah, I love that. Your son is considered Gen Z, Renee, right? You have a Gen Z kid, right? In what
Yes.
ways how did you kind of like navigate that and seeing what his interests were and exposing and pressing? What was your strategy for that?
Well, when I listen to the beautiful queens talking, the things come to my mind, which I also did with Brian, which happened to me, is mentorship. I believe that if we have strong mentorships and can expose them to different programs that have those mentorships, you become much better person and well-rounded. And that's what I did with Brian. I'm sorry, now Malachi, he's changed his name anyway. So he I exposed them to the 100 Black Men and then some other programs. So it was all through mentorship for him to be able to go out and see things like that. I know for me, I was extremely impressed when my mentor took me across the Bay Bridge and have a lunch in a high top tower thing. And the first thing in mind, what do I have to do to be able to do this? And then she started exposing me to this is what I did. And, and you have those experiences, and that opens your mind to want to do better.
Yeah. Dr. Felice, what if somebody has never been exposed? I guess for me, I'm thinking about my own self. Like, nobody in my family ever worked in Hollywood ever. Nobody ever wanted to be on television. It was like a knowing, I just read a book that says God is the voice inside my head by 2 Chainz. And God has been the voice inside my head, inside my heart, inside my body, right? Where it's like that guidance came from something I don't know. Like, I would just be like, I'm going to get up and move here. I'm going to go and do that, or I'm going to go. So when I came to LA, I didn't know anybody, not nobody. And I had like a $200 like card that I got, it was after Hurricane Katrina. So I had a $200 card from Blue Cross, something like that. And I ended up meeting a girl at an audition, and she was like, I guess you could come home with me. I was like, okay. Right. So I just think about, like, even if you don't have the exposure, like, I don't know what that is, that I think that there's also something like just a level of trust in yourself. Like, what would you say to kids that maybe don't have the exposure? Nobody in their family does the things that they want to do, I guess is my point. Like, what would you recommend for them?
That's a really good question. And, the thing that came to me was books, right? Sometimes, like, even if you can't get the physical exposure, sometimes you can get it through reading a good book, where that will expand your imagination and allow you to go into worlds and rooms, right, that you can dream about and light a fire in you. I know I was a book reader, and my mom did expose me to as much as she could, but there was still certain spaces and rooms that I wasn't in. But because I was a reader, those books took me there, right? And so because I was a reader, those books would take me to countries and areas that I would say, you know, I want to go someday. And it opened up my imagination. And so I would start by having my children, and I consider my children community children, to read a book and let them get into the worlds that way. And then slowly, as they're taking steps from reading that book, like you said, once you take a step, the universe reveals the next. Yeah. And it leads and it guides you. But I think reading a book can be the catalyst for that.
Maybe that was it. I used to love to read. I mean, love, and I still do, still to this day. Like, I was like, I'm reading a book right now too, actually. But I love that. And so maybe that was the thing. I was seeing things and I was, you know, reading things, and I was saying, well, I want to do what she does. Always been curious. So I think there's a curious spirit that you have to have, and just see yourself in different places and doing different things, and knowing that, like, you know, my heart often feels for the kids that, you know, you ever go to a place, I don't know, I would say like the country. I'm gonna use the country as an example, where, you know, everything is the same. Like every nobody has gone outside of their town. Nobody is like aspiring to do more. And it's like, once I was able to get out of certain places, I was like, man, I couldn't imagine still being in that box that I still see. Even people that I've known for now 30 years, still in that same box, living that same life. It's like the world is so big, you know. And so that when you say exposure, and when you talk about like reading, I mean, I can't help but to think about those people that still just be like, we gonna have kids and not watch anything, not read anything, not grow. This is what our life is gonna be forever and ever. Before I move on to the next video, do you want to add anything to that, Renee?
No, I agree with all you. I mean, you guys are on point, and books are very important. I still read.
So we're talking, and this young man or woman, whoever, says that the only thing Black people can do is succeed in entertainment, right? That is the problem. That's all we can do. That's all the system allows. I'm like, that's not true at all. Yes, it is, the person says in all caps. That's all we can do. All we can do is entertainment. That's what we're able to do. Again, I'm like, no, it's not. They said, in order for us to succeed, we must be in entertainment. So I'm like, okay, let me explain and let me show people how ignorant this individual is. And this is our problem. A lot of us are very ignorant to the realities of the world. We don't know anything about economics, finance, business, how the world works from a financial side. We don't know. So I was like, okay, guys, I'm going to show you guys a part of the problem with the Black community. We are brainwashed to think entertainment, athletes, music, and comedians, all that stuff are the only ways we can be successful. It is not. The system will allow us to be successful in ways that we produce value in. And that was a high-level athlete. But here's a perfect example to disprove this individual's point about we must be in entertainment to be successful. The richest Black American is Robert S. Smith, who founded Vista Equity Partners, a private equity firm that invests in software companies. Investments, finance. Again, we do not need entertainment to be successful. That is what we focus on, and that's why we're so successful at it. We need to broaden our horizons and become better in other avenues. As you can see, stuff like this is where the real wealth is built. He's a billionaire.
You know what's interesting about this? Let me remove this. You know what's interesting about this is, for as long as I know, I mean, me diving into Black history and just really looking around, I feel like entertainment is the only thing that's publicized, but Black people stay doing all the things. Like, we stay breaking records. We stay creating and inventing things to make everybody's life better. I mean, literally, like, everything that I can think of, a Black person has put their hands on. We have been engineers and inventors and all the things. And so I think sometimes the internet makes us, like, puts us in a bubble, or the things that get a platform put us in a bubble and make us like look like a monolith. Dr. Felice, I'll come to you first. Like, what do you think about what this young man is saying? Like, we need to, I feel like we're already there. I feel like Black people are already doing the things. I just feel like they don't get a platform, and we're not every day showing the amazing parts of the Black community. We just, for some reason, just get this section that people say, this is who Black people are. What do you think about that? Like, how do you feel about that?
So, you know, I just got back from Ghana, and one of the things that impressed me was that Ghana is a country built on entrepreneurialism. And so, you know, I'll make a word for y'all. So like entrepreneurship. And so, so can you hear me?
No.
Oh,
I can't hear you.
now? So everybody in Ghana, for the most part, no?
No. Go out and come back in and then tell us your Ghana story. I'm gonna go to Dominique. Come out and come back in. Like, yes. So she'll be right back. She's gonna come back and tell us her Ghana story. So I'll come to you, Dominique. What do you think about that? Like, what do you think is why do you think that we don't get, and I don't want to really go down to like they don't want us to rise and be seen a certain way. I don't want to go in that direction, but I'm really wondering, you are what you see. And if we are constantly glorifying like or giving platform to people like Sexy Red or whoever else is like, that's what people are going to want to be or feel like they can. So what do you think we could do just as a country or as a community to just say, hey, listen, Black people do all the things and all the things well? What do you think? What do you say to that?
I think part of it is, again, it's glamorized to be a certain way. I think part of it is having these real conversations where people say, okay, yeah, I'm not a rapper, I'm not an athlete, but this is what I'm doing and I'm doing well. They have so much access to social media and that's all they see. So when you think about it on social media, that's what comes up, right? The rappers, the athletes, them flashing money and driving a nice car. So people and even the kids per se, they automatically connect that with being successful, not thinking about the people that are behind these people and not even realizing that a lot of these people that seem to be glamorous are not. They don't have the money. Oftentimes the things are borrowed. And so they're thinking that it's this route when in all actuality, if we're having the conversations and the people behind the scenes come out and say, hey, in all actuality, I am an attorney for the athletes and this is the money I make. Or I'm the attorney to, the singer or the rapper. And this is what the money looks like. But those people, as on one of the videos said, those are the people that are in the background. So we don't hear from them and we don't get that information. And so people only see what seems to be glamorous, right?
Yeah.
And so they want to, and people also, are still on that fame course. So not only do I want to be glamorous, but I want to have money, but I also want the fame too. I think that's a big piece too, right? If I look the part, if I have the money, they have the money, that's what I want. And so I just think that the people behind the scenes we have to have these conversations and we have to have more conversations surrounding ways to make money outside of just being an athlete and outside of being a rapper. Though that's important.
Yeah. Okay. Dr. Felice, I want to hear this Ghana story, if we can hear it.
So when I was in Ghana, they really know their history. So they are entrepreneurs. You still not hearing me?
No. 824 Dreaded said your Wi-Fi is fighting for its life. It's fighting for its life today. Okay.
Can you hear me now?
I mean, I'm so sad. I didn't hear it.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, but okay, let's try it again. Let's try it.
So Ghana, everybody is an entrepreneur. Everybody is an entrepreneur in Ghana. So what does that mean? That means that we are always ahead of the curve, even now. Can you hear me now? We
can hear you. Tell the story while we can hear you. Go ahead, do it.
So Black people are always ahead of the curve. So they are entrepreneurs at heart. And so our Gen Z kids, they are going along with what's already been a part of our culture. For years, we have been entrepreneurs. We have been the ones who create, who make things happen. And even the young children in Ghana are entrepreneurs. They are always figuring out, is it something they can sell or that they have to offer others? And that is big. We've got to go back and teach our children their history. And when they know our history, we can spring forward to know that our history is bigger than entertainment. Our history is bigger than athleticism. We come from a history of people that create everything and that we're bigger than that. And so that is what lit a fire in me when I went to Africa. It was like, man, like they've been doing this for years. Like this is part of who they are.
Yeah.
And this is the way our future is going. But Africa has always been ahead of the game, has always been a part of preceding what the other world, while the world is trying to catch up.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. I love that. Renee, what do you say what do you say to the rest of us who are looking at Gen Z and saying, you know, they catch a lot of heat too, right? Like they're lazy, they don't want to work, they don't want to do nothing, like they just want to do what they want to do. They march to the beat of their own drum. And so I think that's a good thing. I mean, I think there are some things that maybe they could consider that we've done, because I feel like we have laid a foundation of some sort. Like you don't have to do it exactly how we did it, but there's certain parts of this you need. What would you say for the rest of us that are just trying to understand them, understand Gen Z, and kind of like understanding how to communicate? And because I think they're misunderstood. So how should we kind of interpret, Gen Zers? What do you think?
Well, well, just like we had the shows of, we were on Martin and all of these types of things. Now we have the internet or YouTube that's showing us a lot of things. What they're seeing also, I believe the Gen Zs are seeing that the basketball players like LeBron or any of them, but let's just go with Bill Cosby. All of them, when they get to a point, they make all of the money, and then what happens? What the deal that they got has been snatched away, or they're in legal battles and their record rights are taken away. And so they've been sitting back watching all of this happening. And they're like, oh, I'm sure in their head, they're like, no, they're not doing this anymore. And so instead of moving into being visible, they're looking at more being equitable and what they can do to produce that mass kind of money for themselves and their generation. Because what I'm seeing and what they're seeing at a level is you build hard, like corporate, right? They're like tenants playing the basketball or whatever, and then they don't own it. And then after that, they get their little money and they have to walk away, and they lose it because they're not getting that education, or again, they're being trapped into some type of legal battle where their stuff is just getting snatched. R. Kelly can tell you firsthand, although I'm not going to bring up his issues, but I'm just saying they track you and some poor things, and then his rights and his records and all of the stuff just gets snatched away. It's just a terrible situation. Now, also what's not being understood is that it takes like 1 out of 100,000 athletes to become like a LeBron. But for a business, it takes maybe 1 out of 10 to be able to become a very successful business person. So you have much more access, much more visibility as a normal person to do very well, just doing those little micro businesses. And you can make $1 million and put it in investments, and you'll be just like them at one point, and not get it snatched away.
Yeah, I love that.
I chime in real quick.
Maybe. I don't know. We can't hear you. Go ahead.
Can't hear me?
Okay, we hear you. Go ahead.
Gen Z are kind of futuristic, like, what's going on in the world. You still can't hear me?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. All right. So okay. I love what you said about, you're absolutely right, because one thing that it takes, let's just say 10,000 to 20,000. If you want to become a LeBron, you probably got to put in about 30,000 hours of work, of hours to become a prodigy like that, right? And if that's the case, what I love that Renee is saying is that you could take that same energy and put it into something like a business or something and actually still make it, because the probability of you making it is literally 1 in a million. So we might not want to do that. What do you think about that Dominique, and then I'm gonna come to you, and then we're gonna do
I'm
our.
so our beautiful people, and they're saying that they can hear her, although we can't. They say that they can hear her.
Yeah, no. We that's old. That's old. That's an old comment. We can't hear. All right, let's try one more time, Dr. Felice. Let's try one more time.
Can you hear me? Hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, so I just think that our Gen Zs are kind of futuristic. They kind of know what the times are bringing about. And so they're very wise. And I think that they're figuring out that they've got to get on the entrepreneur bandwagon. I need to type it. No, I just think they know this is where the future is going. And so they're going to have to be entrepreneurs. They're going to have to think outside of the box in order to make money. I mean, they're going into college now and coming out with no jobs. They're coming out with crazy student loan debts. They're having to live with their parents or have 5 roommates in order to make it. So they understand where the tide is going, and they're thinking outside of the box to say, what are we going to do in order to make it? At least as much as our parents did before us. And this is the way that they're going to be able to do it. So kudos to them for figuring it out.
Yeah, I agree with that. Dominique, you want to add something to that before I wrap this conversation up? Because I think investment with with it being unstable with AI not replacing all the jobs, but it making efficiency for companies a lot easier. So those jobs that people have had, they are no longer available. So I would think putting money into an investment and living off the money from that investment or receiving a dividend from it, it just feels smarter, right, than trying to go out and actually like work for someone. What are your thoughts around that?
I do agree with that. I think that you can make some really great investments that can set you up for life, right? And so when you think about these jobs, right, we were taught to go work a job, you stay there for 30 years, you get a pension, you get your social security. But what is happening now is for this generation, that's not even an option. They're not going to have pensions. Social security is going to probably be gone. And there are people in previous generations that relied on pensions, and then it was wiped away because the company went bankrupt and, different things. I've seen the story of this old man. He was in his 80s, late 80s, and he was consumed with debt, medical debt from his wife. And he had to work as a greeter at Walmart because he no longer had his pension because the company went bankrupt and he was consumed with debt. And so they're hearing these stories and they're thinking about this stuff and they're trying to find a better way to do it. They don't want to go and work for somebody. Like even with a lot of these jobs, I know they're talking about AI is going to wipe out jobs, but these kids don't even want these jobs. Right. They had to figure something out because they didn't want to go work at McDonald's. And, like my daughter, she's like, I'm not working at no fast food restaurant. They didn't even want the jobs. The jobs that at one point, I know for me, that was like, yes, Burger King, they're not for that. They want something different. And the thing is, a lot of them, they're so young. They don't have families that rely on them, right? They probably don't have any major debt, no children, so they can take the risk and they're willing to take the risk. We probably didn't take the risk because we didn't have the option to take the risk. A lot of us, I know I came from struggle. I needed stability. We needed to have consistency. So going to work for a job that is giving you a regular check every 2 weeks was sufficient. But for these kids, it's not. They see the economy being unstable. They see what jobs have done to our parents and they want something different. So they're willing to invest in the stock market. They're willing to take more risk. And so I think it's a good thing. I think I say go for it. Have fun. Do it while you're young. Do it while you can, because when you get older and you're established and you have a family, you can't just up and say, I'm going to make this move because you have people relying on you.
Yeah. What's interesting about that is, I mean, as someone who took a risk, right? Like, and still continues to do the thing. I can, being in this ecosystem of like investment and, working under Dr. Boyce and just having these influences for so long, it really started to change my mindset about what work and hard work look like. right? So it would be like, oh, okay, so you can invest money and do what? Once I start talking to the B1 community, a lot of people in this community are thriving. They are investing in the stock market. They are selling options. They are doing just amazing things. And you would never think they're just living their lives, but they're living their lives with security. And so I love if even us millennials took a piece of that from them, took a piece of what they are wholeheartedly being able to embrace in their 20s. I was scared to do that when I was, I had a stock market class in my high school senior year. And it's my biggest regret, y'all. Like I started looking at that stock exchange and was like, I don't know. And I end up like just there was only like a project for the whole class was like a a stock exchange project. And so you had to like invest. They had made it like where you invest in certain things and you had to calculate. All of that was like, I was so scared of that I end up just, I cheat, I cheated. I cheated and I got an A in the class, but I didn't actually learn the skill. And I regret that to this day. I think I saw the teacher on Facebook and was like, I got a confession to make, like, but it's one of the things that when I think about it, that I feel like I wish I would have gotten years and years ago, because I think I would have been that, like the Gen Zers, like, I'm about to just invest this money, about to take this $20, $40, put it in Bitcoin, right? Just made a difference. Anyway.
So real quick, so the real
Yes.
Black Lexicon, he said they are less attached to their parents than previous generations. And so I wanted to piggyback on that. That is the truth. They are willing to take risks even if their parents are telling them not to, or if their parents don't agree with them. They are standing up to their parents and they're saying, no, I don't agree with that. Like, how did that work out for you? Like they're having these conversations and they're okay with doing things that their parents are telling them, no, I don't think you should do that. I think you should go to school, or I think you should go over here. They're literally risk takers all the way around. And they are changing their family dynamics. They're changing, where their family is going because of them willing to take risks. They're pulling their family out because they're saying, no, you tell me I can't do it, but I think I can, and I'm going to do it. And they do it, and they're making a killing.
Yeah, I love that. I love it. And to add to that, I don't know, did either one of your parents? I remember when I was talking about the stock market with my mother, and she was like, I put my money in the stock market, I lost everything. And after that, that kind of framed the way, like, you don't make no money in the stock market. I was like, okay. Did anybody else have that experience where maybe somebody that was a little older that maybe tried it? Like, was your family investing in the stock market? Did anybody have that growing up?
I didn't know about it until I became an adult. I never heard any conversations about it. I heard nobody talking about it. I had very limited exposure to it.
Yeah.
Same here.
Yeah. Okay, y'all, let's get ready to get out of here. I'm so sorry. We is over our time, but I love these conversations with my queens. I'm telling you, it's my favorite time of the day. So let's get into our International Women's Month fact or honoree of the day. Our honoree is none other than, if we're sticking to singing and entertainment, Rihanna. Rihanna, a billionaire from Barbados, built her wealth not from music, but from ownership through Fenty Beauty. While her talent made her famous, it was controlling the product and the brand that made her one of the richest women in the world, proving that ownership will always outpace performance. When I think about that, it wasn't the music. It wasn't the music. It was like afterwards, the businesses that she built outside of that. I love that. It's not just the talent, it's the business. Show business is, I would say, 10% of it. That's what they say. 10% of it is show, and 90% of it is business. All right, my queens, we gonna rock it. We gonna go ahead and wrap it up. Let's get into our final thoughts. Let's keep them brief because we are over time. And let's just tell people where they can find you. And I actually asked a question. Dominique, what would you, in what way would you advise, let's talk to the Gen Zs right quick. What would you say to the Gen Z community, just to kind of like, what would you tell them if you could tell them anything?
So I would tell them to keep doing what they're doing. If it's comfortable for you, do it scared. but they're not really scared. But I would just tell them to continue doing what they're doing, because they are really paving the way. You know, they may not always do it right, but we didn't always do it right either. So don't get discouraged. Keep making those moves. You know, be confident, be bold, show up strong, and they will be okay. So I'm Dominique Morgan. I'm the co-founder of the Whitmore Group, where we exist to educate, empower, and equip individuals to build wealth through real estate. If you wish to purchase anywhere throughout the United States, you can reach out to us. We are on all social media platforms at thewhitmoregroup.com. And then you can go to our website at thewhitmoregroup.com to keep up with what we're doing.
I love that. I love that. Reach out to the Whitmore Group, y'all. Renee, what should Gen Zs focus on if they want long-term wealth? What should they be focused on right at this moment?
Focus on themselves and focus on ownership. Ownership, if that's YouTube, whatever ownership looks like to them based off of all of the things that are coming at them. But one thing is you have to own your own stuff and make sure that it's coming through you so you can change your life and your family's life and your community's life. How about that? So I really believe that we have to go back to the Ghana. We come from Africa, all of us, right? We stem from them. So we have to go back to our creative space and become owners of our life, period.
Yeah.
So I'm Renee Williams, founder of CycleSync. In 2025, they started erasing us from healthcare entirely. The FDA quietly removed its diversity mandates for clinical trials, and the Texas federal court struck down only the federal rule protecting our reproductive health data. So basically what they're saying is that when you go to the doctor, they can take anything that you tell the doctor, they can give it to anybody, insurance companies, whatever. So go to trycyclesync.com, check out the website. We have zero knowledge privacy rules that you can get more help and resources to make sure that you have receipts to protect yourself. Thank you.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Queens. You know what? I didn't read our stats real quick. I'm gonna read the stats real quick and we're gonna get up out of here. All right. Real quick, less than 2% of athletes go pro despite being one of the most promoted paths. So they lying to you. They lying. 98% of y'all sitting at home with all this skill and talent for no reason. All right. The creator economy is valued at over $100 billion. Create some, own some. Nearly 60% of Gen Z already have a plan to start a side hustle. They say that the Gen Zs is the side hustle gig generation. That's what they are. 84% of Gen Zs say they want to own their own business. That's wonderful. All right. So that's it, y'all. We appreciate you. I saw y'all in the comments. I swear, the way you guys come in, support us every single day. We are so appreciative of you. You keep it going. There is no us without you coming every single day. The Real Black Lexicon, Deborah will win. Double A, I saw you, girl. You just, Mama Walterine, what is up? Like, we just appreciate y'all. And so, June, hey, I see you, girl. So listen, we will be back tomorrow, same time, same channel. If you want to get notifications, if you're new around and want to get notifications, text the word Queens to 87948 and you'll receive information about when we go live. And just, y'all be blessed. Y'all have a good day and we will see you tomorrow.